They was not scared of Suge Knight. They was terrified.
Like, was somebody from the barbershop like punch you and knock you out after that? Like, you be knocked out like from the guy from the barbershop do that? It changed. And they be like, Suge's outside. And everybody be like, yeah? What do you want?
Welcome to the channel. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and lock in, cause what's coming up is straight up wild. Let's get into it. Eminem and 50 Cent just took things to a whole new level. They didn't just speak up, they fired off a bold warning shot at Suge Knight, and what they revealed is got people second guessing everything we thought we knew about their beef and loyalty circles.
Eminem was real. It's like, man. This is when I knew. I'm like, damn, Eminem is a real.
They're still holding on to deep anger towards Suge for what he did to people they loved and respected. The grudge runs deep. Now, if you don't know the history, buckle up. This drama didn't just drop out of the sky. Eminem and 50 basically walked into it the second they aligned with Dr. Dre to Suge Knight, real name Marion Hugh Knight Jr. Started out in the game doing security for major names like Bobby Brown, but it didn't take long for Suge to realize the real control wasn't in front of the mic, it was behind the curtain. Back in 1991, Suge linked up with Dr. Dre, the DOC, and Dick Griffey, and together they gave birth to one of the most infamous labels in rap history, Death Row Records. Dre dropped The Chronic in '92, and it turned the whole industry upside down. That sound was untouchable. Then Snoop rolled in with Doggy Style in '93, and the charts? They got wrecked. Nothing was the same after that. By the time they brought Tupac into the mix, it was a wrap.
And the Source Award for Best Performance goes to... Who's the winner? Where my dogs at? DMX! Why yo? DMX!
Death Row was the culture. They had the sound, the money, the look, and the streets on lock. But all that flash came with some serious darkness behind the scenes. Suge Knight's rep wasn't just hype. Dude was feared for a reason. He didn't just run Death Row, he ruled it like a king with no rules. There's even talk that Vanilla Ice got straight up cornered into signing over his royalties. And that ain't even the wildest part. Multiple sources have spilled on disturbing stuff, like Suge making artists strip down in the office over petty issues that could have been solved with a simple talk. That whole empire, it was built on fear, control, and intimidation. If Suge said it, it was law. No debate. Eventually, Dr. Dre had enough. In 1996, he cut ties, but not just casually. He left everything, his royalties, his 50% stake in Death Row, all of it. That's how toxic it had become.
While digging through demos with Jimmy Iovine, Dre heard something that made him go,
What the fuck and who the that?
The voice belonged to Eminem, a young rapper from Detroit struggling to make ends meet.
Dre literally walked away from millions just to breathe easy again. He chose peace over power and built Aftermath Records from scratch. But Suge, he didn't take that lightly, not one bit. He saw Dre's move as the ultimate betrayal, and he made it his personal mission to try and block Dre from ever shining without him. And at first, it really looked like Suge might have been right. Aftermath's early releases weren't hitting like people thought they would. The buzz was shaky. Folks in the streets started whispering.
You know, we were all going out. We were supposed to be on vacation and having a good time with our family and kids and wives, and just parlaying, man. As the plane land, they open the door up, and you got Honolulu police standing right there talking about, hey, y'all got to come with us. And it was about 20 officers, man. Say, hey, you guys got to come with us. Death Row Records is here, and they wreaking havoc.
Dre might have lost his spark, and Suge, he was chilling, watching from the cut, not saying a word, like he didn't even need to lift a finger. But just when it felt like Dre was about to fade out, he flipped the script. Out of nowhere, he signed this wild white kid out of Detroit with a chip on his shoulder and bars like a weapon, Eminem. When the Slim Shady LP dropped, everything changed. Eminem came out swinging, raw, loud, and unfiltered. Nobody knew what hit him, and before you could catch your breath, he was scooping up 3 Grammys like it was nothing. Just like that, Dre was back on the throne, and Suge, he stopped sitting back. That quiet watching.
Suge is coming! So I'm like,
Suge's outside. Suge's outside. Everybody like, he was running, dropping.
So Suge came, he had some Mexican niggas. Now we from New York. You ain't never seen a nigga with a tattoo on his forehead. 118th Street Crew. I'm like, what the fuck?
Over. He started plotting again, and this time, it wasn't just about Dre. Multiple outlets started reporting the same thing. Suge had locked his sights on Eminem. Fast forward to 1999, an award show night that still gets whispered about in hip-hop circles. Eminem was just walking up to the stage, probably thinking it was a regular moment. But then, out of nowhere, Suge Knight's crew rolled in deep, rocking red shirts, loud, bold, straight surrounding him and shouting "Death Row" right in his face. They weren't there to celebrate. They came to rattle him.
M had inherited Dr. Dre's beef by signing with Dre.
They wanted to shake his confidence, make him fold under pressure, send a loud public message. But M, he didn't even blink. He kept it moving like nothing was happening. Walked straight up, handed the award to DMX, then sat right back down. Calm, cool, unbothered, like a total savage under pressure. But the heat didn't stop inside the venue.
Grammy goes to Mr. Controversy, Eminem.
Yeah.
Outside, Suge's people were still posted up near Eminem's limo, lurking, watching, waiting, like they weren't done yet and had something to prove. But it didn't shake him. Not one bit. Eminem had survived way worse in life. That kind of intimidation wasn't about to break him.
Okay, it was like, Suge's outside, Suge's outside. Everybody like, Suge. He was running, dropping shit. Like, man, everybody going, I'm in front of the camera like this. Everybody like, whoa, running. It was just gone.
All right, so people are like, can you understand?
Yeah, now it kind of changed a little bit. Like, when somebody from the barbershop, like, punch you and knock you out after that, like, you be knocked out, like, from the guy from the barbershop do that, it changed. And they be like, Suge's outside. And everybody be like, yeah? What do you want?
Over the years, Suge Knight never really let it go. Anytime Eminem started making noise, Suge was right there, tossing shade, throwing shots in interviews, and stirring stuff up behind the scenes. He always tried to downplay Eminem's rise, claiming he wasn't from the streets and calling him a fake.
I seen my cousin Snoop, man. He was like, God, he was sad, man. You know, you can hear in his voice that, you know, I don't want to be here.
Saying he was just acting out of character. But then, one cassette tape flipped the whole story. While going through demos with Jimmy Iovine, Dr. Dre heard a voice that stopped him cold. That voice, it belonged to Eminem, a hungry young rapper out of Detroit, grinding through life with nothing handed to him. Raised by a single mom, broke, bullied, and barely getting by, M had been through the mud.
In the club video, and somebody said, Suge Knight here. And 50 I was at the bar, Game was there. He was shooting in the club scene, and he stopped, and Suge came in with 30 Mexicans, like you said, which is weird, you know what I'm saying?
He always wrong with the Mexicans.
You know what I'm saying? And I just remember smurfing.
But those battles lit a fire in him. In the underground scene of Detroit, Eminem was going hard, battling anyone who dared to step up. Being a white rapper in a space dominated by black talent only made the target on his back bigger. But instead of backing down, he used that pressure to sharpen his edge. His delivery was wild, his lyrics were fearless, and nobody could ignore the rawness he brought to the mic. In 1998, Dre decided to roll the dice and bet big. He signed Eminem to Aftermath, and that move, legendary. Together, they dropped the Slim Shady LP, and the game was never the same. The album debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, pushing 283,000 copies in its first week. A full-blown takeover had started. That album didn't just win Eminem a Grammy for Best Rap Album, it cemented him as a major force and put Dr. Dre right back on the throne. Their chemistry was untouchable, and together, they became one of the most iconic duos hip-hop had ever seen. But with every win they stacked up, the haters grew louder. And Suge Knight, he was watching it all from the sidelines and feeling threatened. By now, Death Row Records wasn't what it used to be.
Well, in 1999 at the Source Awards, Suge Knight sent his henchmen, man.
Tupac was gone, Suge was locked up, and Snoop Dogg, he had become another thorn in Suge's side. Just like Dre, Snoop didn't care about all that East Coast versus West Coast drama. He kept cool with folks Suge saw as enemies, and that burned Suge up. Tension hit a whole new level. Suge was so furious over Snoop's disloyalty, he allegedly even threatened to kill him. The situation got that real. Fearing for his own life, Snoop made the call. He couldn't stay any longer. He cut ties and walked away from Death Row for good. That was it, the final blow. With Snoop gone, the Death Row dynasty officially collapsed. Suge had lost his star power, his grip, and the empire he built was crumbling fast.
What do you think of Eminem? Is that what do you think of white rap?
If you really from the ghetto and you really doing those things you rapping about, you talking about, I can respect that.
Right.
But if somebody else writing your rhymes, somebody else is you telling somebody else's story, that really don't mean nothing.
Meanwhile, Dre and Eminem were on fire. Their records were dominating the charts, winning trophies and turning into full-blown cultural movements. The tables had officially turned. Watching Eminem rise up right next to Dre only poured gas on Suge's rage. He didn't just see it as a business move. He took it personally. That collab felt like a straight-up attack on everything Suge stood for, and from that point on, Eminem was officially the enemy in Suge Knight's eyes. Suge started doing everything in his power to tear them down. He went on a mission to discredit both Dre and Eminem, throwing shade wherever he could. In a 2002 interview with Howard Stern, Suge didn't hold back.
M was walking to his seat, I'm standing up to the side, and M was cut off on his way to his seat, and all these guys in red shirts surrounded him. And I'm looking at M's face, and I'm looking at these guys, I'm like, something ain't right. So I started making my way around to come up the aisle, and next thing I know, you see all these guys talking about Death Row, Death Row. I was like, Death Row, what does it got to do with him? He said, hey man, Suge sent him a message. I was like, oh, shit.
He took shots at M's street cred, claiming he wasn't real, calling him just a white rapper playing a role. Suge was on full smear mode, and he wasn't just talking. Suge moved like he meant it. Back in '99, during a Death Row reunion party in Hawaii, things almost took a dark turn. Big names were in attendance: Dre, Snoop, Eminem, and even their families. It was supposed to be a chill, peaceful getaway, but Suge had other plans brewing. According to insiders, he flew in with the crew and scattered them across the island, watching, waiting, ready to stir up trouble. But Dre got wind of it fast, and with family in the mix, there was no room to play games. They moved smart, bringing in extra security and even law enforcement to lock everything down. No one was going to catch them slipping that night.
He from Detroit. He from Detroit, man. He from 8 Mile, bro.
Then came 2002, a year that changed the game all over again. Eminem stumbled across 50 Cent's mixtape Guess Who's Back, and the second he heard it, he knew it was something special. He passed it to Dre, and the second Dre hit play, it was a wrap. They both saw the vision instantly. Next thing you know, 50 was signed to Shady and Aftermath, and just like that, the streets had a new problem to deal with. When Get Rich or Die Trying dropped on February 6th, 2003, it didn't just make noise, it exploded. That album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and moved a massive 872,000 units in the first week. It was a full-on takeover. Nobody could deny it. 50 was here, and he wasn't going anywhere. But joining forces with Dre and M came with baggage, serious baggage. That included the never-ending smoke with Suge Knight. And Suge, he wasn't throwing subliminals anymore. He was moving chess pieces. According to reports, he was real unhappy with how things were shifting. So he reached into his old bag of tricks, intimidation. Word is, Suge rolled up on the set of 50's In Dog Club video shoot with about 30 muscle-bound dudes. No jokes, no warnings, just heavy presence. And the moment people saw Suge and his squad show up, a lot of folks on set dipped quick. Nobody wanted to see what was going to happen next. But here's where things got real, fast. When Suge pulled up trying to shake the set, 50 Cent didn't flinch. He didn't back up, didn't hesitate.
After that, we got out of there. We called the limo. This is where it gets f***ed up. We called the limo. Death Row is still sitting out there waiting for us. The limo's pulling off as we're coming out. Death Row's behind us. It was like, this motherfucker's trying to kill us, man. What they trying to do? What do they want? I don't understand. What do they want?
Yeah, M's ready to swing on someone if he has to.
Yeah, man. You know, like I said, he ain't no.
He stood tall, looked Suge dead in the face, and basically asked him straight up, "What's up? What you on?" That moment right there, it said everything. And Suge, once he saw that 50 wasn't about to fold like the others, that his scare tactics weren't hitting the same, he backed off. No words, no threats, just turned around and walked away. But if you thought that was the end of the beef, nope, things were just heating up. Out of nowhere, an unreleased diss track called Smack leaked online, and it was all gas, no breaks. Eminem went in, throwing shots straight at Suge Knight and Ja Rule, And this time, he was naming names and making bold accusations. The most explosive part, Eminem didn't hold back. He straight up blamed Suge for the loss of two of the biggest icons in rap history, Tupac and Biggie. Quoting directly from the track, M rapped, "I'm holding Suge responsible for the deaths of the two greatest rappers to ever grace the face of this planet. If only the late great Mr. Christopher Wallace could talk, he could tell you himself. I'm holding Suge responsible for the death of Ja Rule or anyone else down with Raw, in the immortal words of Pac, speaking for me and any other rapper next to get shot."
Well, I don't lead by money. I've never let money lead my life.
That bar alone shook the whole industry. This track didn't just slip out quietly, it exploded. The moment smack hit the net, it reignited beefs folks thought were long buried. That raw heat from the early 2000s, it came roaring right back. So far, Suge Knight hasn't said a single word about it. No statement, no clapback, radio silence. And that silence, it's only got the internet talking louder. Social media lit up fast. One user wrote, "I'm no expert on hood politics, but I've heard plenty of folks say the white dude is usually the wildest one in the room, cause he gotta prove himself twice as hard." Another added, 50 did what anyone should do with a bully. Stand tall and show no fear. Bullies feed off fear. Take that away and they got nothing.
Dr. Dre left first, Pac died. You know, all of those things would kept us at number one. The music changed, the direction changed.
And that energy, that fearless mentality, it explains everything about why M and 50 connected like they did. No fear, no folding, just pure pressure. Another comment hit even harder. Suge never cared about music. He cared about control. And funny enough, he still does. Look where that got him. Now, the conversation's shifting. Should Eminem have dropped smack back when things were blazing hot? Would it have hit even harder in the middle of all that chaos? One thing's for sure, the drama is far from over. Or maybe this was the perfect time for it to come back up, just when the world least expected it. What do you think? Should Eminem have dropped that diss years ago, or did it hit even harder now? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear everything. And if you're feeling this kind of energy, make sure to hit that like, smash subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to see it. Appreciate you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.